All right, so first things first, we are going to go through this. Okay, this is the first thing we're doing today. So this does not take us very long, so let's pay attention. Okay, so the very, very, very first thing you need to check for on any factoring problem is a GCF. Okay, so sometimes you can have just a GCF. It can have no other types of factoring, and that's okay. There is not an example of just a GCF. So we're going to put one. Okay, at the top of our page, I want us to put 3x squared. No, 3x to the third plus 6x squared. Okay, how would I factor that?
You would find your greatest common factor.
3x squared is our GCF. Okay, and if I take out 3x squared, what does that leave us with? 2. Okay, that is, we can't do anything else. It is a-okay to have just a GCF. That's fine. That's good. Okay, now we can also have other things with it. Okay, we should check all factoring problems for a GCF always. Okay, so if we check it for a GCF, okay, and it has 2 terms, the only other thing it can be is a difference of squares. So if it has 2 terms and it's not a GCF, or it has a GCF, the only other thing it can be is a difference of squares. So to factor a difference of squares, okay, does this first example right here, does that have a GCF? Okay, when we have a difference of squares, we have to figure out what squares to give us x squared.
X.
What squares to give us 64?
8.
To get a negative, what signs do I need? So that's our answer. That's how we factor a difference of squares. Okay, now the next one, does it have a GCF?
Yes.
What is the GCF?
2n.
Just 2n. So let's take that out. If we say 18m squared n divided by 2n, what is that going to leave us with?
9m squared.
Yep. Then we do 2n to the third divided by 2n. What does that leave us with?
N squared.
N squared. Now, what is 9m squared minus 9n or minus n squared? What is what's in here?
That's gonna be 8.
That's still going to be a
Difference.
yeah. Okay, so we leave our GCF out front, and then we factor the difference of squares. What squares to give us 9m squared?
3m.
What squares to give us n squared? What signs do we need? There we go. All right, now we are going to look at what happens when we have 3 terms, okay? So when we have 3 terms, it is going to be a trinomial. The decision we have to make is whether or not we can use the trick to shortening it, or if we have to go through the full grouping, right? In order to shorten it, what does A have to be? 1. So for the first example we're looking when A is 1, okay? That means we can use the shortcut, okay? That means we can use the shortcut. So when we look at this one, for the first example, what is A times C? Or first off, does the first example have a GCF? Okay, so what is A times C? And what is B? So what are the factors of negative 42 that add to give us negative 1?
Negative 8 and 7.
Not negative 8 and 7.
Negative 7 and 6.
Negative 7 and positive 6.
Oh, yeah.
So can I use this shortcut for this one? What is A? So can I use the shortcut? So I can just write my answer as x minus 7 and x plus 6. Now for the second question, does it have a GCF?
Yeah.
What?
2.
So let's take out that out. When we take out the GCF of 2, what does that leave us with?
Wait, W squared.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll give us W squared
10W.
plus 10W plus 25. So inside that parentheses, what is my A?
Your A. 1.
And what is C?
We can do the tree.
So what is A times C?
25.
What is B? What multiplies to give you 25 but adds to give you 10? 5 and 5. Can I use the trick for this one?
Yes.
Okay. Where does that GCF have to stay?
In the front.
In the front. And so then I can write my answer as W plus 5. W plus 5. Since those are the same, how could I actually write that too?
W5 squared.
So 2 times W plus 5 squared. Yes? Just make sure that GCF stays in front. If you take a GCF out, it has to stay in front the whole time. Okay? Now, we're going to look at when our trinomial... Yep, sorry. So the next one we're going to look at is when A is not 1. Okay? When A is not 1, we have to factor by grouping. Okay? So we're going to... Let me know when you got it. Got it? All right. So over here, our A is going to have a number there. Okay? So we have to factor by grouping. So we have to do grouping. We cannot use the shortcut on these. So if A is anything other than 1, we cannot use a shortcut. Okay? So let's do this one. First off, does it have a GCF? What can go into 30, 27, and 6? 3. So let's take that out. Because I don't know about you, but do you want to factor 30 times 6? Not really. Okay, so 30 divided by 3 is, so we get 10x squared. What is negative 27x divided by 3? 6 divided by 3? Okay, now we're going to factor the inside. Okay. What is A times C? What is B? What are the factors that multiply to give us 20 but add to give us negative 9? What signs? Both negative. So we cannot use the trick because A is not 1. So we have to do 10x squared minus 5x minus 4x plus 2. Then we group. When we group the first two, what is our GCF? 5x, which will leave us with? For the second half, it starts with a negative, so we have to take a negative, and it will be negative what?
2.
Which gives us
2x plus 1.
minus 1.
Oh, minus. Yeah, minus 2.
All right. Now, where does our GCF have to be?
In the front.
Okay, then what's the same between the two?
2x minus 1.
What's left over?
5x minus 2.
And does it matter which order I put the negative 4 and the negative 5 in? Just have to make sure we factor correctly and we're good. All right. Now, our last type of problem that we're going to look at is if it has 4 terms. When it's 4 terms, we just do straight grouping. Okay? So to group the last one here, group first 2 and group last 2. When we group the first 2, what is that? What's the GCF of the first 2?
2a squared.
Is it 2a squared or just a squared? So when we take out a squared, what is that going to leave us with? For the second half, what is the GCF for the second half?
5.
So that'll leave us with
2a minus b.
what part is the same?
2a minus b.
What part's left over?
A squared.
And that is how we do that. Okay? So, any explanation you need to add to help you make sense of those problems, you can add. But you can't add other questions. Okay? But that is all that I'm going to go over today. So the rest of our assignment is the white sheet that I passed out to y'all. Okay? So on the white sheet, it is a scavenger hunt. The stuff is around the room. I don't give you permission to move. I'll tell you what to do. Okay? Now, because I will not be responsible for you falling and hurting the other leg. Okay. That would just be bad. I don't want to be responsible for that. So, up here, we have clipboards if you need them. Okay, what we do is, so for instance, the one up here closest to me is G. So, if I wanted to start with G, you can start at whatever one you want. You put G right here, and then you're going to write the problem. You're going to then factor the problem. Then somewhere around the room, in the little circle, is the answer to G. It could be A, wherever A is, I don't know. So the next letter I would put is A. Do A, factor A, find the next problem. We are probably not going to have time to finish this fully in class today. In Schoology, the assignment is there with a PDF of the little cards. While we are in here, we are not going to set and use the PDF unless you're Christian with a torn ACL. Okay, I don't give him permission to move. Everyone else should still be up and moving around. Okay, go.